Hello, everybody. Sorry I missed you last week. I'm just going to bring us to where we left off. Okay, this is where we left off. I just want to thank everybody. I feel like I go through a little bit of imposter syndrome, and I have immense anxiety about. I feel like I make you guys watch these things, and I'm taking time out of your day, so I want to try to make it substantial for you, and I have a lot of anxiety about that. But reading your guys' messages in the Discord, it takes my anxiety away a little bit, and I feel like people are enjoying it, so that makes me really happy and a little less anxious. So let's move on to undiagnosed ADHD and our childhood. So I have three kind of just to say we're moving on. So we're moving on from our educate piece. Now we're gonna go into our relate piece. So this is kind of more like what we maybe have went through growing up. Sorry, my dog's eating an ice cube. What we may have went through growing up, and try and remember, like, you might not have went through any of this, and you might lean more to some things than other things. So there's three main things here I have. So we have academic, social, and emotional. So academic struggles, without knowing we have ADHD, as a child, we might have difficulty focusing, organizing tasks, or completing assignments. This can lead to a pattern of underperformance, even if they have high potential, and can contribute to frustration, low self-esteem, or a feeling of being less capable than their peers. Social challenges. So in your friendship circles growing up, impulsivity and hyperactivity could make it difficult to pick up on social cues or to resist interrupting, which can impact friendships over time. This could lead to feelings of isolation or difficulties forming lasting relationships. I know I struggled to pick up social cues. Definitely was my biggest thing. Emotional regulation. Kids with undiagnosed ADHD often struggle with managing emotions, as we've talked about. Just as a kid, it's just way worse. So they struggle with managing emotions, leading to frequent mood swings, frustrations, or a short fuse. This may leave them feeling misunderstood or lead to behavior that others misinterpret as simply just acting out. So we're going to move on to undiagnosed ADHD and decision making growing up. So how can some of these things have affected our decisions? A couple of these things go to decision making growing up, like as a young adult as well. It's kind of both. So impulsivity in choices. ADHDers' impulsive tendencies can lead to hasty decisions without considering the long-term consequences. This might show up as riskier behavior choices in different situations or in taking on more than they can handle. So some examples of this are impulse spending, buying things without thinking about the budget, interrupting conversations, speaking before thinking, blurting things out, overcommitting, saying yes to too many things and feeling overwhelmed. Risk-taking behaviors. So a large thing of risk-taking behaviors is driving, like speeding and risky driving behaviors is very, very large in ADHD. Also making big decisions on a whim. Emotional reactions, sending texts or emails in the heat of the moment and regretting it later, or as a child, impulsive yelling, hitting, or other physical actions. Changing interests quickly, jumping from one hobby or project to another without finishing. So that's impulsivity. The next one we have is avoidance. So without a diagnosis or support, a child might begin to avoid tasks that seem overwhelming, especially those that require planning or sustained effort. This habit can stick, make it challenging to set and achieve long-term goals. I think this has a large part in the role of confidence. I work with a lot of children with ADHD, and confidence is always a factor in something they struggle with. Like whether it's like never being good at, like always getting told that they're doing something wrong, or being unable to do these large complex tasks. Our third one is learning from mistakes. So If they struggle with organization or focus, they may have trouble recognizing patterns in the mistakes and making adjustments, which is key to decision-making development. And over time, this can create a cycle of frustration and low confidence in their ability to make good choices. Now I want to talk about ADHD and relationships. So we're going to talk about friendships, family relationships, and romantic relationships. So with friendships, three things kind of play into this. So the first one is communication. Communication inconsistency. We can sometimes struggle with keeping up with regular communication, and that can sometimes be off-putting for people. Forgetting to reply to messages or following through on plans can be perceived to be disinterested or not reliable. Social cues. So, impulsivity and hyperactivity may lead to interrupting conversations, blurting out thoughts, not filtering thoughts, or missing social cues. This can lead to awkward or one sided interactions sometimes. And the third one is something that I brought up prior, sensitivity rejection. So, ADHD can heighten sensitivity to rejection, which we've talked about, where any perceived slight or disapproval can feel intensely painful. This can cause overreactions to issues at times, make friendships feel fragile or volatile. What seems big to us sometimes does not seem big to the other person. I definitely relate to that one. Family relationships. So I have two here. So frequent misunderstandings and emotional outbursts. So frequent misunderstandings, undiagnosed ADHD symptoms like difficulty following instructions or completing tasks or task initiation or time blindness, like all these things that we go through, it can be frustrating for the other people in the household. This can result in misunderstandings and judgments that the person is lazy or not trying, which can impact the family dynamics and then also impact your own self-esteem. Emotional outbursts, family members may struggle to understand frequent mood swings, frustration, or impatience. Without a diagnosis to explain these behaviors, family conflicts may arise more often. The person feeling isolated or misunderstood within their family, even with a diagnosis, that can be extremely challenging. Romantic relationships. So we have communication, impulsivity and conflict, and emotional sensitivity. So communication, like I've said, and like this all kind of flows in together. Um, it's inconsistent communication, forgetting to text back, losing track of conversations, or struggling to follow through on plans. You can make your partner feel ignored or unimportant. Talking too much or too little, like ADHD, can lead to hyper focusing on a topic and dominating conversations, or completely zoning out and seeming disengaged, which I relate to both of those things, unfortunately. Forgetting important details, so missing key dates like anniversaries or details from conversations, can feel like carelessness to a partner, even if it's not intentional. Excuse me. Um, Impulsivity and conflict. So, blurting out thoughts, saying things without filtering. This could lead to misunderstandings or unintentionally hurting your partner's feelings. Emotional outbursts, reacting quickly in the heat of the moment, escalating conflicts instead of resolving them. Impulsive decisions, making spontaneous choices about finances, travel, big life events without fully discussing them with a partner. Emotional sensitivity and rejection sensitivity. So there's a couple things that go into this with the emotional side. Over analyzing your partner's tone or actions, like a small shift in your partner's mood or response, can feel like a big sign of rejection, even when it's not. Like it could have nothing to do with you, but we are so hyper aware to everything that's going around us, because we had to grow up being that way. We had to constantly check for any change in mood in every social situation we've ever been in, because we don't want to make the waves, right? So it's very easy to notice one little shift in your partner's tone and take it very personally. taking criticism personally, struggling to separate constructive feedback from perceived failure. Constructive feedback. I think that's something that a lot of ADHD people struggle with just because we feel so deeply. Even when you know it's constructive, like, I shouldn't be taking this to heart, but it comes off as perceived failure. Needing reassurance, so seeking frequent validation or reassurance in the relationship to ease anxiety about being too much or being not enough. I get that as well. Love me. Don't talk to me. Okay. This one was short and sweet. The next, I'll just show you guys really quick. We're going to talk about ADHD in the workplace, the next one, and then we're going to go over like so many strategies. I found this awesome webinar and I took so many notes. And I have so many strategies, not just for the workplace, like just for ADHD in general. And I learned so much. So we're going to go over that next week. But for this week, for our Discord discussion, I have two things. So the first one, I know this is kind of a harder topic, a harder subject. So I have two questions and you just have to choose one. You don't have to do both of them. So you can choose what lessons from your childhood have shaped the way you approach challenges now, or you can answer the question, what have you learned about navigating misunderstandings and friendships to make them stronger? So those are kind of tough questions. So you just have to pick one. And then my second one is I was hoping that maybe you guys could ask a question. So we all have our own experiences, and I want you to ask something you would like to know from your peers. I encourage other people to reply to the other questions, but there's no pressure. You don't have to. I'm going to be replying to everybody's question, so everyone will get a reply. But if you see someone else's question and you're like, I have kind of an answer to that, like I really would love if anyone could kind of talk to each other and reply to someone else's question. I think that would be super awesome. Okay, guys, short and sweet this week. And thanks for watching. And I'll see everyone in the Discord and also see everyone next week.